All right, so we are live. We are live. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the show, Meet the Press with Lovejoy Mtungwiza. My name is Lovejoy. The show is coming to you live on Facebook and on YouTube. Our main goal for this show is to allow people to come together on this platform and interact together on different topics, on various topics. Today's topic is about unlocking the Fiscus for women and disability rights in Zimbabwe. Recently, the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe announced the monetary policy, which came out, I think, sometime last week. And there were a lot of issues raised, key among them being women's rights and disability rights. And I think for a very long time, we've had people with disabilities saying that they are not being represented well when it comes to monetary issues. So we have invited a couple of guests, one among them being Honorable Tatenda Mayota, who also sits on the Parliamentary Portfolio Committee on Finance. I'll let the rest introduce themselves so that we get along with the program. But this program is proudly brought to you by ICOT Zimbabwe. They are the sponsors of this program. So, gentlemen and a lady, and not just a lady, but an honorable lady, welcome to the program. I'm sure we'll be joined again by another lady so that we can have a balanced an interaction. So let's say, gentlemen, for now it's lady and gentlemen, welcome to the show. Honorable Tatenda, please introduce yourself. I know you don't need much introduction, but for the purpose of this conversation, kindly introduce yourself. Honorable. Honorable Tatenda.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
Hello? Yes, I can hear you.
All right, fine. Honorable, let me interject there. It seems like we are having problems with your microphone or something. We can't really hear you. But the fun thing is we're just talking to each other just a few minutes ago. So whilst you're trying to sort out your microphone problems, I'll go to Tafadzwa Chikumbu. Kindly introduce yourself, Tafadzwa, in just 10 seconds.
Okay, thanks, Lovejoy. Good afternoon, Zimbabwe. My name is Tafadzwa Chikumbu. I work as the head of programs for Transparency International Zimbabwe, which is an organization that works on anti-corruption, doing lobby and advocacy with government, supporting citizen engagement on the same subject, and also hinging our conversations on research.
All right, fine. So, thank you so much for joining us. We want to check into your knowledge and find out what you have in store for us. Next up is Ernest Nyimai.
Okay, good afternoon, Zimbabwe. Thank you, Lovejoy. My name is Ernest Nyimai. I'm the Monitoring, Evaluation and Learning Officer at Institute for Community Development in Zimbabwe. In short, it's ICOT Zimbabwe, which is the women-founded and women-led organization which is coming around issues of advancing the rights of women with disabilities and women in general. Thank you.
All right, fine. Thank you so much. And I said that we will be joined in by another lady, and we've got Lillian Kwanyanya. I hope she can hear us. Lillian, are you there? Lillian? All right, fine. It's all right. Because of time, we have to move on. So, Ernest, you are coming from ICOT Zim. You are the ones who are championing this conversation. Can you tell us about the fiscal robot model that you've developed in a summary?
Okay, thank you very much, Lovejoy. So basically, the fiscal robot model is a follow-up to some of the intervention that we have been doing as an organization. I think this work started around August last year in 2020, where we produced a policy brief on the level of participation of women in the national budget processes, including the local budget processes. From the key findings from this policy analysis is revealed that there is limited participation of women and girls with disabilities and women in general in the budget processes, and this was mainly due to quite a number of reasons. Amongst these include lack of knowledge by the various women and women with disabilities and their diversity to understand or to have an appreciation of what the national budget processes are, even the national budget cycle itself. So we have then introduced an initiative around September last year towards during the public hearings which have been conducted by the Parliamentary Portfolio Committee on Budget, where we introduced a program which we seek to harness the demographic dividend by making sure that there is effective participation of women and women with disabilities in the national budget processes. And in this time it was the pre-budget consultations. And we have done some consultations, and it was as part of the consultation, we also tried to sensitize the women and the women with the disabilities in terms of for them to have a better appreciation of the national budget processes and the role that they are supposed to play. Through that process, we have then developed the disability 10-point plan, which basically looks at the key 10 asks that we wanted the Treasury and the monetary authorities to consider in the 2021 national budget. This disability 10-point plan was developed in consultation with various organizations who are programming around the rights of persons with disabilities, when we call the DPOs, and in consultation with the community itself. So we developed this disability 10-point plan, and we presented the disability 10-point plan to the Parliamentary Portfolio Committee on Budget, and then we submitted, and we were quite happy that most of the asks that we initiated in the disability 10-point plan have been adopted by the Parliamentary Portfolio Committee. And for us, we applaud the Parliamentary Portfolio Committee because it was very clear and justifiable that whatever we have submitted was then sent through to the Treasury for consideration in the 2021 national budget. So, but we understand as an organization that having our issues in the 2021 national budget or in the national budget proposal is not enough. We then need to make sure that the budget proposals that have been adopted, or the key asks that have been adopted in the disability 10-point plan, translates to service delivery. That's what we are interested in as an organization. We want to see the progressive realization of rights by persons with disability and by women in through the national budget. And we also have an understanding that realization of rights involves some costs, and there are resource implications for people to say they are enjoying and they are realizing their rights. So due to that, I think this is another reason why we also want to make sure that the national budget try to address the various needs of the people with disability and the women in general. So the fiscal robot model was then come as a follow-up or as a mechanism to make sure that we continuously track and monitor the various budget proposals and recommendations which have been adopted through the disability 10-point plan. So basically, we wanted to strike a balance between participation of women in during the pre-budget consultation phase, and to make sure that there is continuous participation even in other stages of the national budget. We know that from budget formulation, we go to the budget approval by the parliament, and from there we go to the budget implementation, which is the phase where we are right now. And at the end, we have the budget audit, where we want to do some performance appraisal and to do some performance review with regards to the performance of the national budget at the end of the year. So basically, I think this is the reason why we've developed the fiscal robot model. So in developing this model, we have used the key principles and techniques of public social accountability monitoring, where we look at strategic planning and resource allocation. We look at expenditure management. We go to performance management, public integrity, and oversight role. That's why we also see that we want to continuously engage with the Parliamentary Portfolio Committee, which also plays a pivotal role in terms of ensuring that there is oversight on the budget, and there is prudent stewardship of the natural resource of the national resources that we have in the country. So basically, I think in brief, this is the background to the introduction of the fiscal robot model. And maybe to highlight is to say through this module, it touches on quite a number of issues, but we have got about 5 hallmarks or key principles that we want to look at through this robot, like the participation of women and women with disability in the pre-budget consultation, which is what we call the participatory budgeting. And from there, we go to an independent budget analysis where we are now evaluating whether the submissions and inputs from different women and women with disabilities have been considered or not. And from there, we go to impact assessment. For us, we are keen to see the comprehensiveness of the information that we are getting around expenditure management. So we do impact analysis to see if the different budget proposal is translating to see if it's delivered or not. And of course, we also want to involve communities through feedback mechanisms, through social audit, to see what is happening on the ground, and to see if the budgets, the different budget proposals which have been adopted are really being transforming the life of women and women with disabilities. So in a nutshell, I think this basically what the fiscal robot model is looking at. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Ernest, for that earnest conversation that you're giving us. We thank you for the work that you're doing. May you kindly continue to do the good work. But over the past few years, there have been issues that have been raised about the budget consultations. There have been accusations thrown, especially at the Parliamentary Portfolio Committee on Finance, that they do not include persons with disabilities. And we've had a lot of conversations, especially from people with disabilities themselves, saying that they are not consulted. They just, they just find everything imposed on them. They don't have a voice. I would want to ask Tafadzwa. You're coming from Transparency International Zimbabwe. How transparent is the process of budget formulation in Zimbabwe? Can we trust the whole process? I know we've got Honorable Tena Maritira. I'm sure she'll give us the ins and outs of what really happens. But for you, Tafadzwa, as TIZ, do you think the process is open enough? Do you think the process involves everybody, all groups that need to be included?
Okay, thank you very much, Lovejoy. I think I would just start by saying that transparency and accountability is a very important pillar of good governance. And our constitution is very clear in terms of transparency and accountability, both as one of the founding values of our constitution, and also as an important principle under section 298 of our constitution. And with that in mind, we have seen the budget and budgeting process evolving over the years, not just in Zimbabwe, but across the whole world, in which it used to be a domain for ministers of finance, technocrats, and economists like myself. But then that has changed to ensure that ordinary citizens that are impacted by the same budget are fully involved and participate in the budget making process. And to that effect, I would like to say that I think Zimbabwe, of course, we do have challenges in terms of transparency and accountability, and also ensuring that all the vulnerable groups and all the independent groups in Zimbabwe are involved in the budget process. But by and large, I think we have equally evolved like any other country in ensuring that we do have a mid-term plan. And in the case of Zimbabwe, we do have a pre-budget statement which is issued prior to the budget, to the announcement of the budget, which gives people information with regard to what the next budget would look like. However, the challenge that we have had as Transparency International Zimbabwe has been that of having a pre-budget statement a week or less before the budget consultation take place. So it's about the timing of the budget itself. But in terms of following the due processes with regard to the budget making process in Zimbabwe, I think we have been doing quite well. But I also have reservations with regard to how citizens do participate in the budget making process, particularly during the consultation phase, where citizens are only informed maybe a week before, and then there are limited points or areas where the consultations will be taking place from. So this is not something that citizens do participate in on an annual basis. So we might have groups of people that are interested in a specific issue, but then it's also because of distance, where in a single province, maybe we have one or two points where the budget consultations are taking place. So we happen to see less people with disabilities participating in the budget process. And I think those are some of the key issues where we expect citizens to participate. But of course, I just want to also emphasize that citizens should not only participate during the budget consultation process, but their involvement should be across the entire budget cycle itself, from the policy formulation to adoption in parliament, implementation, monitoring and evaluation that comes with the audit of the budget itself. So I've seen less entry points for citizens to participate in the other remaining or subsequent processes rather than the budget making process itself. And in that, many countries have actually ensured that budgets are considered pro-poor, where the poor and vulnerable groups of our society, which are recognized by Section 200, Section uh, 80 of our constitution, where they recognize women as a very important group of citizens, and also Section 83, which recognizes the rights of people with disabilities, and that right to participate in the budget making process remains fundamental. So by and large, we have been evolving with any other country, but of course, there are limited entry points for participation in the budget process. And as a result, we find out that we have vulnerable groups crying foul when the budget has been presented. Like in the previous budget, people with disabilities, they felt that their concerns were not fully incorporated. And as a result, the government decides to give handouts to people with disabilities, yet their main worry is about creating opportunities for them so that they remain self-sustaining and not just being limited to the allocation to their sector.
All right. Thank you so much, Tafazwa, there. I think one of the takeaway from your presentation is that PWD and women in particular, women with disabilities, they need to be included in these processes, all processes, not just selectively including them, maybe just randomly picking them during consultation. They need to be involved in each and every process. And fortunately, we have got Lillian Gwanyanya. She's a gender and disability expert. I don't know if she's ready for us. Lillian, are you there?
Yeah, I'm there, but I can't really. I'm there,
right, yeah,
but
so
I can't hear everything. But I'm hearing bits and pieces.
Yes, we are having challenges with our microphones.
You are not seeing me?
Yes, I can hear you, Lillian.
Hello?
Lillian?
Yeah.
Yes, can you hear me?
I'm having challenges with.
Can you hear me?
Hello? Hello?
Yes, Lillian, can you hear me?
Right, I can hear you, yes.
All right, fine. So we have had the fact
Yeah,
from IZ, we have had NS from ICOZIM, just talking about the need for women and PWDs to be included in budget formulations in all the processes that include the mental policy issues, right? So we want to hear from you, your gender and disability expert. We want to hear from you, right? Can you comment maybe on the level of
All right.
participation of persons with disabilities in the budgetary processes?
All right. Thank you for that. Now, when you are talking of the level of participation for persons with disabilities in the budgetary process, I think we need to see the 4 processes that the budget goes through. The first process being the preparation of the budget, and then we would ask to find out how many persons with do we have even a single person with a disability getting involved in the preparation and submission of that budget. You find that usually persons with disabilities are not even found at the first stage when the budget is being prepared. Now, on the second stage of the approval of that budget, again, we may not find anyone with disabilities being involved on that stage. And even if we go to the third stage of execution, we don't find any persons with disabilities. Maybe the last stage where the evaluation is done, you find sometimes persons with disabilities, they may attend workshops, a few of them, and where the budget will be discussed, but this would be the final stage. You find that when the consultations on the budget are done, persons with disabilities, they may not be many of them, because of the different challenges that they go through. For example, you find that some of them may not even get the information about the consultations of the budget, so you find them not coming to the consultation meetings because they don't have the radios. Some don't.
Okay, we have lost Lillian there. I think it's because of the network, because she was struggling as well before coming online. So we hope to reconnect with her. We'll try to keep on getting in touch with her so that she comes online. But I think from what she was saying, what I just picked is that there are stages where PWDs are not included, probably from the first and second stages, and they are needed, I think, on the less technical sides. So I think that's a big challenge there. And I think something that we've seen happening, and these are complaints that we've had for a long time now. Fortunately, we've got Honorable Tatinda Mavetera, who also sits on the Parliamentary Portfolio Committee on Budgets. She's here. We want to hear from you. You are the guys who are running the show. So as a committee member on budgets, what are you doing to ensure oversight over the national budget implementation?
Okay, thank you very much, Lovejoy. I'm sorry on the last question that you previously asked me, I did not introduce myself. I'm Tatinda Mavetera. I'm a member of Parliament representing Sekesh Komba constituency, and a member of the Portfolio Committee of Budget, Finance and Economic Development. Well, indeed, as a committee, what we have managed to do to make sure at least that there is that implementation of the budget, we have realized that if you look at it, the whole process, which has been said quite clearly with all other people that spoke before me, you would say that we have got that process that we have, which involves the inclusion even of people, whereby we do the pre-budget seminar, whereby we go and then we communicate and we have to indulge the general populace of Zimbabwe. So what we then do as a committee is that we engage them at that stage. But however, when it is now on the budget statement, we also work in consultation with the ministry, whereby as a committee we go forth and also submit what the general populace has done. And therefore, what it means is that when we look at the pre-budget statement, it is a reflection of what the budget will be. And because of that, as a committee, what we then do is that we get that involvement and we make sure that people are involved, especially on the pre-budget seminar. But however, when we look at us as a committee, what we have also done is that for us to make sure that the budget is implemented, we always get reports, especially from implementing agents, in line with Section 36 to Section 33 to 36 of the PFMA, the Public Finance Management Act. We get these reports, and then when we get these reports, then we make presentations in Parliament. When we make presentations, we require a response from the minister, and according to our standing rules and order, the minister is supposed to then be able to respond to us within 10 sitting days after we have done these consultations with stakeholders. Again, as a Parliament, what we've also done is that we've had oral evidence within Parliament. I'm sure a lot of times we've asked certain ministries to then be coming over so that at least they can be able to respond towards certain issues that would have been said in the budget. So what we do is we do this oral evidence, which we summon a minister to be coming through, any ministry, all the ministries, and this is not just specific to the Ministry of Finance. Any specific ministry that has got to do with anything which is within the budget, they're supposed to be coming through this oral evidence that we are going to we have as a budget committee. Again, we also do site visits. Right now, we have got a pending visit that we're supposed to be going, where we're supposed to go to Tokwe Mkosi. We know that Tokwe Mkosi right now has become a tourist attraction, and again, it is also adding to the fiscus of the country. So as a committee, what we do is we do this visit. Last year, before COVID, that is, we went to Zimbabwe, we went to the border post so that we could see what is really transpiring there. So as a committee, again, we also need to find out what is happening there, rather than for us to just be given
Honorable, are you still there?
Repost without us an interface of what is really happening on the ground. So that is what we have also again.
Okay, we seem to be having problems with Honorable Maricha there. We think it's her network. I think our network has been a bit challenging across the country. We apologize for that. But again, these are some of the issues that we have to deal with on a daily basis. And I don't think when we're dealing with some of these issues, we also include PWDs, women, and like now we've lost Honorable Maritera, we've lost Lillian, so we don't have a woman's voice right now. So we are stuck, gentlemen. But we have to move on. We have to talk. The show must go on. Tafadwa, I'll come back to you. What do you think the government can? What do you think the government can do to improve participation of women with disabilities in the national budget processes?
Okay. I think I've pointed out where the gaps are in terms of the participation of women with disabilities and probably women in general. And I think for government, it's about creating spaces for them to effectively contribute to the budget cycle, not just the budget making process, I should emphasize. Noting that this is one of the vulnerable groups which are recognized by the Constitution, like I said, in Section 8 of our Constitution, specific to women, and also Section 83, specific to people with disabilities. I think they should be prioritized in every programming of the state to ensure that the government programs and priorities, they are informed by the needs and demands of this specific group of people. And I think they should not only be represented by the single individuals with disabilities, but of course, they should be allowed to have their own associations participating in and across the budget cycle. And even in terms of representation in parliament, because we might not be involved in all the processes that happens in parliament, but they should be fully represented in parliament, because I believe that people can fully and effectively represent themselves because they know their needs and aspirations. So if we have one representative in parliament representing people with disabilities, sometimes it's not sufficient. So it is not just specific to the budget process itself, but also as a broader developmental insight that the government should look into. And of course, there should always be independent oversight over how the resources are being utilized, oversight over how resources are being dispersed, and even when it comes to the external audit, when the result is out, there should be that allowance for independent institutions, especially those that are representing the interests of people with disabilities, to come in and echo their voices with regard to how a particular budget would have impacted in their own lives. And of course, there should always be openness and civic engagement, not just with those people with disabilities, because I am working with Transparency International Zimbabwe, not a specific organization representing people with disabilities. But then our contribution to the budget making process, especially with regard to anti-corruption efforts, would also serve the purpose and interests of the people with disabilities. And the government, in its execution of the budget, should ensure that there is regular and consistent reporting to ensure that the bolts and nuts in terms of how the budget is being utilized, how the budget is being implemented, should be in the public domain. Information should be readily available so that organizations like the one that Ernest works on should have access to information that allows them to do analysis and ask the difficult questions that citizens do have with regard to how the budgets are being utilized by the state. And of course, the external audit should come regularly to ensure that we monitor what is happening. And as it stands, notwithstanding the challenges that we are facing with regard to COVID-19 regulations, limiting the work of the audit institution, of course, regular audits, that might not be the overall audit that comes once a year. I think the Auditor General's office should also ensure that they do specific audits that are pertinent. When we speak about the COVID-19 pandemic itself, of course, as citizens, we're expecting an audit report that is dedicated to the use of COVID-19, let alone expecting the entire audit for 2019 to come out later on. So I think the external audit should actually be given a precedence when it comes to the budget making process to do our analysis and also to engage with the government across the budget process.
All right. Thank you so much, Tafazo, for that. And as you should, you're always emphasizing on the need for transparency, and you're talking about audits. And I think when the audit general report comes, sometimes they say, we want to see how much went to PWDs and how much was channeled towards their needs. Honorable Mabetera, I know you're busy. We had talked about you wanting to attend Parliament, so I'll throw this question to you, and then I'll release you so that you can go and attend to some serious parliamentary business. With the financial figures for PWDs, what exactly do you consider when you're coming up with that budget? Because for a very long time, we've seen PWDs saying that the money that is allocated to them is not enough to meet their needs. They're sort of at the bottom of the tree, and they can't get the real fruit. So how then do we make sure that they get enough resources? And also, how do they end up with those pure resources?
Yeah, I heard some of what you said, but I'm sure. Let me. Yes, can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you. Go ahead.
I heard part of what you asked.
PWDs, and they've complained for a very long time that
Hello?
they do not get enough money to cater for their needs, right, during budgets. So I was asking, how do you come up with those figures for PWDs? Do you talk to them? Do you just cast those figures around and say, this is the amount that we're going to be giving to PWDs? How exactly is the process for you guys to come up with the figures for PWDs?
Hello? Oh, God, the network is really bad. But let me try to respond part of what I heard. What we have done as a committee. Yes, hello?
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, I wanted to respond and say, I'm going to respond to what I have heard. I heard you speak of what we have, what preparations we've been able to do as a committee. Okay, what we have done is that we have prepared and also distributed the citizen budget, which is a simplified version, which highlights what it is also used to the. So when you look at it, what we do is that this is distributed so that at least people, the general is happening, especially within the budget process. But however, the challenge that I think has been there, especially on that, is that it's usually so there is need for us to be able to translate it into all the languages that we have in this country, so that at least people will be able to access it and also be able to understand it. Also, what we have done as a committee is that we have gone on and we have asked for feedback, which has been especially on budget.
Okay, Honorable Mabetera is gone. Your network seems to be playing around. Yeah, it's really tight, gentlemen. So, Lillian, are you there?
Hello?
Lillian? Yes, are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear
Hello?
you, Lillian.
All right. So I was still on the first question where you asked me about the level of participation of persons with disabilities in the budgetary process. And I was saying that level, it was very limited because of the, like in the first place when the budget was prepared, you find that in the preparation of the budget, you won't find many people, you won't find even an individual with disabilities participating because they will be not part of the committee. And even on the second stage, you only find persons with disabilities maybe participating at the last stage when the budget is already there. And the participation is not even meaningful because much of the work would have been done. And even those that go to the workshops, you find there are very few of them. And it involves just the elite, the top ones. But the majority don't even know about this budgetary process. They cannot even they say out their concerns. You find that in the budget, the most people that really need to be catered for are the most vulnerable, which means we are talking of the women and girls with disabilities, and even the general persons with disabilities. But you find that the whole process of the budget, they are not really involved much because of the barriers that they go through. Like even if the consultations are called, people are called to come for the consultations, persons with disabilities cannot attend those consultations because of the barriers that they have. They don't have the money for the transport to the consultations. They may not even hear of those consultations because of the lack of communications, the radios, the cell phones. This they don't have. So these are some of the limitations that limit their participation. And then when you find that when they now are participating in the budgetary process, they are just responding to what is already made, to what is already prepared, unlike really contributing at on the background of that budget, which is important. And then on this, you find that usually
Lillian?
it doesn't really streamline on persons with disabilities. It simply says such and such a percentage is going to health, such and such a percentage is going to the education department. But as persons with disabilities, we want the budget to really specify the percentage that goes directly to persons with disabilities. For example, in the health department, we would want to see at least 10% of that budget catering to buy assistive devices for persons with disabilities. And then the same should account for maybe in the education department, the budget should address some of the needs of children with disabilities. Yes, people may talk of BEAM, but really BEAM does not go down to support persons with disabilities because it is not really much. Persons with disabilities usually they go to school to the institutions which is and boarding schools which are very expensive, and BEAM does not support that part. So I say the involvement, the extent of involvement of persons with disabilities is very much limited. We expect that to open up more such that it will be inclusive of hello,
And then
can you hear
then
me?
I'll go to okay, yes.
Yeah,
Lillian,
because I was trying to say,
I want
hello.
okay, Lillian.
Yeah, I can hear bits and pieces.
All right, fine. Allow me to put
I'm
this
missing
to
some of this.
Honorable.
I'm not hearing anything at the moment.
Okay. I want to put this to Honorable Mavitera. You said that you want a certain percentage of the budget to go to PWDs, probably 10% or 8%. time.
go straight to the needs of persons with disabilities. It should not be a blanket.
What do you say about that?
She was interjecting. I do not know why it seems like the network is a problem, but anyway, let me respond. I think what we need to then be able to do is that when you look at this whole process, especially for us as Parliament, when you look at it, I say that what we do as Parliament is that we have some member initiatives that we've done, whereby as members of Parliament we get feedback through information centers. The current budget, what it had is that it only had some allocation which was reserved to make sure that it would address the issue of constituency information centers. But this was just a preliminary initiative, yet it's going to be fully implemented in the 2022 budget. So what it then does is that it makes the involvement of Parliament very much visible. But however, as Parliament, again, we have had social media website, social media.
Okay, all right. So
sites like the websites which people. However, I feel that like all the concerns that have been raised are very, very pertinent and are very, very important. But I think for us to enhance our involvement and engagement, we need to make sure at least that whenever we do budget consultations, we also have to get and set a budget for us to be having some translators, so that at least even people with disability, then they can be able to engage us. Again, also, I also feel that even in terms of the locations this year when we did last year when we did our pre-budget consultations, we made as Parliament made sure that at least they are also accessible locations so that people with disability then can also be able to be involved. However, I feel that in terms of the budget, there is need for, we are hoping that there will be need for enhancement when it comes to the budget, which is mainly allocated to people living with disabilities. And again, we also feel that even when it comes to the quarterly reports, we realize that there isn't very much involvement when it comes to quarterly reports, and also there isn't much feedback when it comes to quarterly reports, which ministries are supposed then to be presenting in Parliament. This also can also be able for us to monitor and evaluate if the money that would have been allocated towards people living with disabilities will be great. However, I feel that in Zimbabwe, we're the first to have a disability act, but when it comes to implementation, I feel that is very much lacking, which I feel as a budget committee, we need to make sure that at least when we are going to be securing the budget, we will discuss with stakeholders so that when we're going to be having a report, what then has to happen is that the report will very much be accessible, and also it will also be inclusive of all the interests that people living with disabilities are going to be giving on. And again, I believe that there is that need for legislation that will go towards making sure that as Parliament we include and also we are there to make sure that there is already an affirmative action when it comes to issues of people living with part of the budget process. Sometimes considering that we're in a COVID period, is also limited us. So there is need for us to adapt techno survey ways of us to be able to include people in reporting, and also even when it comes to us as a budget committee in terms of how we are going to be enhancing even what we need, enhancing our capacity as budget committee when it comes to what we need and what we expect from the general population of Zimbabwe. Thank you.
All right, fine. So I hope you've got your lines open for engagement with PWDs, because I'm sure after you've articulated this, they'll be coming to your offices, or they'll be trying to get in touch with you so that at least they know how best they can get involved fully. They know how best they can be heard in these processes, which I think is a very, very important engagement that is supposed to happen. So, Honorable, you are now free to leave. But before you go, maybe in a nutshell, you can also tell us what mechanisms are there for you to relay back these consultations, these budget consultations, this engagement that you have to the community. What is it that you do to ensure that whatever is said by the representative of PWDs is now relayed back to communities?
I think this is what I was basically responding to. But however, let me be able to repeat it. I'm sorry about the network. If I would have responded wrongly, but I will try to respond with the bits and pieces that I will try to connect. However, what I'm saying is that we need to get feedback. How we get feedback back to the communities, like I had said, that there is that citizen budget that is there to make sure that at least it is distributed, so that at least the stakeholders will be able to understand and know what is expected. And however, on our representative role as MPs, we do what is called question and answer on Wednesdays, especially for us at National Assembly. On this question and answer, what we then do is we are told issues, or we are all these issues are communicated to us, and what we then do is that we then ask the first aid minister, so that at least these issues will then be responded to, especially on national TV. And again, what we do is that, like I had said before, that we have got this issue whereby we go back, like now as a budget committee, we have scheduled that we are supposed to be going back, which we call post-budget seminars, whereby we go back to the people of Zimbabwe, and then we tell them what has been included in the budget. And then after telling them what has been included in the budget, we then have to incorporate and say to them on the citizen budget, whereby we highlight to them the issues that were incorporated into the budget. And then we also explain to them what issues have not been addressed in the budget. And however, after that as well, we always have public hearings that we always have, which are also even not in line with what could be there. But whenever we have budget consultations or budget hearings, that is when we also engage with the general public, whereby they can then be also telling us what they expect and what they thought was supposed to be happening. That is after the post-budget. We still have that interaction as members of parliament, whereby we engage through that. And again, as members of parliament, people also engage us through petitions. If there is anything that they feel that would not have been right and that they feel that it needs to be addressed very well, they are supposed to petition parliament, and then we are also then able to indulge them. And also through our website, also there is that feedback whereby we can also actually interact with the general public, and therefore we have got the Speaker of Parliament who then has to respond to these issues. So that is some of the feedback mechanisms that we have, that the general populace will then be able to engage us as a budget committee. But however, I think what is more important as well is for us to establish information centers within constituencies. This is very important because not everyone is able to access the internet or is able to even write to Parliament. So when we have these information centers, they are bit close by, and it becomes less costly for the general people to then be able to go and forward their requests to the members of parliament. And then because of our mandate that we have as members of parliament, whereby we've got the representatives role, we are supposed to then come into the house. When we come into parliament, then we are supposed to say all this that we did at the information centers, and then that therefore will then get responses, and then they can actually be able to get the responses, which we can then take back again to the information centers. I think that can also help in terms of feedback. Thank you.
All right, fine. Thank you so much, Honorable Mavetera, for those insights. Your voice really matters, and we would really love to keep these conversations going. We appreciate the work that you're doing. I know you're passionate about this issue. I know you're very hands-on when it comes to these issues, and we would want more of these interactions with not just urbanites, even those in marginalized communities, so that at least you can continue these conversations. Thank you so much, Honorable, for taking time to be with us. We hope we can invite you again, and then we can have these conversations with you. Thank you so much. Moving on, Ernest.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry about the network. Right, it has been bad.
It's all right. It's all right. It's all right. We understand. I think everybody is just having challenges with the network. So yeah, excuse. Thank you. All right, Ernest. Your organization, again, we'll come back to the fiscal robot model. To what extent do you think this fiscal robot model shall assist in developing disability-friendly or inclusive budgets going forward? Because now we need solutions. We're not just talking about the problems. We can't sit around and talk about problems every day. We need solutions. How best are you going to ensure that this model that you've developed will assist in the budget formulations?
Okay, thank you, Lovejoy. Thank you for my fellow colleagues for quite insightful submissions that they've been making. So for us as ICOD Zimbabwe, you know what we are interested in, what we have noticed through the policy brief that I talked about, is issues around capacity. Because it's one thing to have a platform for women and women with disabilities to interact or engage with the different budgetary processes that we will be having. But it's another thing for them to be able to dissect, to be able to submit valid submissions or to make meaningful contributions. So the first thing is community involvement. We want to involve them as much as possible as part of capacity development and sensitization, so that even when the platforms are there, I think Honorable Mavetera has indicated quite a number of initiatives that the committee on budget is putting in place. But then we also need to make sure that there is capacity which is being equipped to the women and women disabilities, so that they meaningfully contribute in these processes, and it will result in some positive change in terms of their needs and enjoying their rights. But I also want to indicate another important element, which is harmonization of the national budget with other developments and policies that we have. For instance, you talked of the monetary policy, which for me is a sister policy to the fiscal policy, which is the national budget. You know, the monetary policy gives provide the ingredients to which even the resource mobilization trust of the country is going to. So there is need for us to make sure that whatever we put in the fiscal policy is being supported with the monetary reforms that we are putting in place through the monetary policy. And over and above, we also have other development strategies and policies that we have in the country. Like currently, I think starting from this 2021, we have the National Development Strategy 1, which is going to take us to 2025. So there is need for us to synchronize and to harmonize these policies, so that if there is inconsistencies in these policies, then it will be very difficult for us to realize or to achieve the outcomes that we will be setting in the national budget. And I think we also want to learn from other countries what they are doing. Right now, we have the Open Budget Survey, and the recent result that we have received is for 2019, which showed us that as Zimbabwe, we are still at 49 over 100 or 49% in terms of ensuring that there is transparency and accountability in the national budget process. There is public participation, and there is also oversight from the Auditor General's office and the Parliament. And if you check that, I think in 2017 we were at 23, but right now we are at 59. But if we want to compare this performance with South Africa, which is our neighbor, they scored 87% in terms of the transparency, the public participation, and oversight in the national budget processes. So for us as ICOD, through this fiscal robot model, we try to find some point of intersection between the citizen participation, between the impact assessment, between issues of information availability. I'm quite pleased that the Parliament has also started doing an initiative of producing citizen budgets, which is a simplified version of the national budget. I think this is a step forward, but I think one of the issues highlighted in the OBS results for 2019 is around inadequacy of the information or the comprehensiveness of the information that is being provided or that is available in the public domain. I think it's something that we also want to improve in the country. You know, it's very critical for us to improve our performance around our ratings on Open Budget Survey. And for us, I think this is another critical information which can be used by international partners or international development partners when they assess international development assessment and eligibility of different countries. So it's actually important for us. So going forward, recently we have produced the analysis for the monetary policy, where we were trying to evaluate if the monetary policy statement produced by RBZ is supportive and is in harmony with the 2021 national budget. And going forward, working with Parliamentary Portfolio Committee, we are also going to make sure that when the the members of the Parliamentary Portfolio Committee receive quarterly reports. You know, there are also capacity issues. You know, these monetary issues, these fiscal issues. There is really need for economists, for those who have got a better appreciation of the interpretation of the national budget, to recommend the Parliamentary Portfolio Committee so that they strengthen their oversight role over the national budget. And as we go towards the midterm review, we are going to make sure that we do an analysis at the midterm or at the midway to see if we are going towards the national budget aspirations that we have that have been adopted through the 2021 national budget. So, although I think over and above that, the fiscal robot model is there to signal: are we progressing? Is there retrogression, or are we suboptimally performing through in terms of the budget allocation that we are that have been adopted? So it is our hope that through the partnership with the various civil society organizations, with different development partners and the parliament, especially the committee, we are going to try to gather some evidence, to do some analysis in terms of the expenditure management or the expenditure performances, and also the qualitative aspects like the social audit, to see the impact and issues of service delivery at ground level, and also to make sure that there is improved interaction and engagement of women and women with disabilities throughout the budget cycle. I think it's something that we are also pushing for. Like for now, we want to provide feedback to the women and women with disabilities so that they know what is in the 2021 national budget. And during this implementation, they are able to demand the social accountability, which is also another critical aspect when we talk of budget monitoring and expenditure tracking. You know, it's one thing to have commitment, but we want the Treasury and other relevant authorities to account to whatever allocation or to whatever priorities that they've been adopted for 2021 national budget. I think from the previous experience, we have seen quite a number of variances when we do the budget performance review versus the budget proposal. There are quite a number of variances. So sometimes we celebrate even the voter appropriation or the allocation, but it does not match with the performances at the end. There is quite a number of reallocation, reprioritization, and I think even COVID-19, my colleague Tafaza tried to touch on the need to make sure that we provide information around the expenditures. How are we disbursing the various budgetary allocation to support our COVID-19 response? So for us, this is the vision that we have as an organization. And through the fiscal robot model, we will try to make sure that we answer quite a number of social accountability monitoring questions, and also to make sure that there is meaningful participation and there is meaningful involvement and effective participation of women and women with disabilities in the budgetary process through capacity development, through information and sensitization program that we will be doing in tandem with the fiscal robot model. So in a nutshell, I think this is our vision. This is where we want to go. This is the direction that we are taking as an organization. Thank you.
All right, fine. Thank you so much, Ernest, for those remarks. Unfortunately, because of time, we have to wrap up and leave it here. But we need closing remarks from the three of you. I'll start with Lillian. Are you still there? Are you still listening to us? Are you still hearing us?
Yes, I'm
Lillian?
listening. I'm hearing a bit. And my recommendations may be that, should I come in with the recommendations?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Right. I recommend that when the budget is done, right straight from the beginning on the consultations, we want to see persons with disabilities being involved, being one of them, one or two of them, being in the team that goes out to consult on the budget. And we want this involvement to be carried out until we come to the evaluation, so that we can say it's meaningful involvement of persons with disabilities. And on the gender side, we want to see women and girls
being involved so much right from the beginning. We don't just want to come in as respondents to the budget when it is being evaluated, when everything is finalized. No, we want to start right from the beginning. And when this budget is made, we also want it to really specify, to say 10% of the budget that goes to health should cater for persons with disabilities. The same to the budget that goes to education, to this and that, so that we really feel that we've been involved. Thank you. Hello?
All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
We hope and trust. Yes, Lillian, thank you so much for your concluding remarks. And I was just saying, we hope and trust that the organizations that you're working get the message for you guys. Sometimes it can be challenging to just go it alone. But I think there's strength in numbers, and I hope and believe that with more engagements through these organizations, your pleas and your needs can be met. We heard what Honorable Mavetera was saying, that the door remains open for PWDs to be engaged. All that's needed is collaboration. So we hope that can be done. Tafazwa, in conclusion, what can you recommend regarding the issue of transparency in as far as budget formulations for PWDs is concerned?
Sorry, I think I was on mute. Yes. I think as Transparency International Zimbabwe, we do believe that transparency and accountability are correlated to less corruption. They're also correlated to better fiscal discipline and even the better credit rating of the country, especially in terms of our borrowing. As long as the country's fiscal information is shrouded in secrecy, where citizens are not allowed to interrogate the budget and participate fully, there is room for corruption and abuse of public resources. And in the case of Zimbabwe, this is something that we are living with, and it's something that we need to ensure that we act upon. But it's also unfortunate that this is happening against a backdrop of robust constitutional provisions, legal frameworks, and institutional settings. So there's a lot that needs to be done to ensure that transparency and accountability do prevail, especially in the budget making process. But specific to the involvement of people with disabilities, the government should always ensure that they implement a human rights-based approach to budgeting, where the people that are impacted by the development outcomes of a budget are fully involved from the beginning to the evaluation of the budget. And other forms include having pro-poor budgeting, child-friendly budgets, and ensuring that the marginalized groups, and particularly people with disabilities, are actually involved throughout the budget making process. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Tapatwa, for that. And once again, we applaud the work that you're doing in ensuring that all the processes are transparent and to the best of everybody's ability. We want to see everything being done to book. We want to see everything done clearly, so that there are no squabbles here and there, so that everybody is included. There's no cheating of some sort, and everybody's needs are catered for. Lastly, Ernest Muchidimbu, as an organization, as ICOZIM, you work with women, you work with people with disabilities, and you fight for their rights. What can be done to ensure that vanhu vanorarama neurema, vanhukadzi in particular, vawanawo zvinhu zvokuti vange vachifambisa upenyu hwavo zvakanaka.
Okay, thank you very much. I think, notwithstanding the fact that our national fiscus is overburdened in terms of the various needs that it needs to address, but as an organization, we recognize that the national budget is a key instrument to address the various needs of women and women with disabilities. And with this initiative that we are implementing as an organization, like the fiscal robot model, our idea or our aim is to make sure that we unlock the fiscus for the benefit of women and for the benefit of women with disabilities. We want to do everything possible to make sure that at least this particular group benefit. And I think it's also in line with some of the guiding principles that we have, like the Sustainable Development Goals, which speaks to the issues of leave no one behind. So these are some of the strides that we are taking in the direction that we are taking as an organization to make sure that.
But we had just concluded the
Hello,
show.
can you hear me?
Ernest, are you still there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes,
Please go ahead.
Ernest, you are clear.
Okay, thank you. So I was saying the national budget is a key instrument to address the various needs of women with disabilities and women in general. So for us as an organization, we want to make sure that we do anything possible to unlock the fiscal so that at least it benefits the women and women with disabilities. In line with some of the principles and agendas that we have, like the Sustainable Development Goals, which speaks to the issues of leaving no one behind. I think these are some of the things that we are doing as an organization to make sure that the women and women with disabilities are not left behind. And going forward, I think we will try to also use the key findings through the fiscal robot model documents that we will be producing to advocate for a change around the civic engagement in terms of the women and women with disabilities and the meaningful involvement and effective participation of women and women with disabilities in the budget and processes for the entire budget cycle, not necessarily during consultation or formulation stage. So I think for us, we just want to make sure that we collaborate and we partner with other organizations like Transparency International Zimbabwe through their technical expertise and some of the comparative advantage they are experts around issues of transparency and accountability. So I think for this robot to be a success, we definitely need the input and contribution of other like-minded institutions. I thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Ernest. Thank you so much, Tafadzwa. Thank you so much, Lillian, for coming through the program. And in absentia, thank you so much to Honorable Mavetera for also gracing this important engagement. Unfortunately, along the way, we were having challenges with our network. We hope the viewers could hear what we were saying, some of the things that we were saying, because this was a very important engagement. But we hope that in the future, we will be able to collaborate with you guys again, and we have other talk shows where we can talk in broader sense about what you guys are doing in your respective fields. We appreciate everything that you're doing because this is very important. It's very important that we include PWDs in every aspect of the economy. That said, thank you so much for coming through once again, and thank you so much to ICOD for giving us this space. We really appreciate, and thank you to the listeners who were listening in, and we want to ensure that next time we will have a clear program without much hiccups. We know the internet is having some month-end problems, so we would want to ensure that we have something that is clear. That said, my name is Lovejoy Mtungwiza. The program was Meet the Press with Lovejoy. Join me in other programs and we engage. Thank you so much.